Hello everyone, this is the one. Today I'm going to be covering the Kensa Collection 5, which is custom kits I've made with the help of Snack for weapons in the game to be able to create every weapon with a third kit. I'm going to start off with the Flingza roller. Once again, you can find out the cards for these kits in both the description and in the comments if you want to check out more. Anyway, here we are with the Flingza roller. Now the Flingza roller is in a pretty interesting position of being a lackluster main weapon with lackluster kits. Though admittedly the full Flingza roller has gotten better, its kit's still fairly outclassed. I decided to give it a fairly interesting kit of Torpedo and Booyah Bomb with 190 points for special. Flingza roller's main advantage is the ability to output massive pain onto the ground with its kit. Torpedo being able to pressure is great, and the actual sub-weapon can combo with the vertical flick since they do about 40 damage from long range to actually put some solid pressure. On top of that, the vertical flick paints a lot better than Dynamo's, so it allows it to paint better at a larger distance than Dynamo, so it can combo with Booyah Bomb a lot better. On top of that, being aggressive means Booyah Bomb can be used as a semi-panic option, extra tick damage, and mobility option. So yes, it's on Dynamo as well, however I feel it serves a completely different function with this roller than it does with Dynamo, and is overall way more versatile on it than on Dynamo. Hence, I felt it was appropriate to give it here. On top of that, I think Torpedo would help make up for it immensely. In the end, this is a pretty simple kit. He has a huge advantage of paint and pressure, with Torpedoes and Booyah Bomb forcing people to move or shoot down the sub-weapon constantly, while being able to output massive pain and special usage. A pretty solid mid-tier, I think, but I don't think it would go too far though the main weapon seeing buffs, but that's one of the best kits I think it could get. Next up, we're talking about the Brella. Now, Briella is my weapon, so of course it's going to be fairly interesting to see what I give it, but I think a lot of people are actually overrating the kit I gave it from the comments I've seen, along with Dooley Squatchers, but I'll get to that. And I wanted to talk about how this could be different, because a lot like the Flingza roller, this is a very similar kit to another weapon in its class, and I wanted to talk about how this could be different. If I can organize weapons without being bad here, we can take a look at the Brella. Now, for Brella, I decided to give it Toxic Mist and Ink Armor with 220 points for special. Now, a lot of people immediately think, okay, armor, regular Brella, it's busted. Now, I don't think this is the case. First of all, with 220 points for special, Brella doesn't paint as well as you would think. It would need to run charge up on a gear-dependent weapon to actually get armor that much, especially anywhere near the amount as Kunder, which paints better, is more ink efficient, and has a painting sub. On top of that, remember we're giving Brella Toxic Mist here, which means its sub-weapon isn't going to be able to paint. Part of the reason Hero Brella has insane paint is because Storm plus Sprinkler plus painting around. We're stripping it of both a painting sub and painting special, meaning it's no longer really going to be a very nice support option. Mist isn't really that valuable, one of the bottom 3 subs in the game, and it could be useful for Brella in combat, but it'll drain its tank fairly quickly. As then we can see with Sorella Brella, that could be a huge problem, so it'd be very situational without last-ditch effort active or a lot of ink sabers, which again, gear-dependent weapon, you don't want to do that. Armor, on the other hand, is amazing for Brella. Arguably more amazing than Storm, which is great because Storm allows it to be able to shield and damage people, allows you to get the 90 hits, etc. Armor basically allows a failed shape if you mistime your shield, or as an approach option. It's overall very useful for Brella, and Brella pairs with armor super well. This would put Brella into an interesting spot of having a more aggressive kit, but it'd be very rare at getting it special and wouldn't really have anything to poke. Its amazing paint and kit would overall be toned down to a lot more of an aggressive option. Armor would have to be used at the perfect moment with the team, and the Brella would have to be aggressive enough to play as almost a complete frontliner. Toxic Mist is a bottom sub, which is why it's a problem. Had this been given a better sub along with armor or lower points for special, I think it would definitely be a busted kit. But I think this puts it at a different playing field. Kunder is basically the supportive option, where the main weapon itself can't do combat whatsoever, and the kit's insane at painting. While Brella is at the point where the kit would be very useful if just used for painting and spamming armor, as we've seen with H3D being lackluster in a similar way, but would be much more useful as an aggressive armor option. Either way, double armor isn't too good, so you couldn't really run both too easily, and it would be dependent on the comp and the map what you wanted to do, as well as the Brella user's playstyle. I still think Hero Brella would definitely be a little bit better in the end, but I think it would be a nice alternate kit option that would be great for Brella to have. Next up is the Squeezer. Now, Squeezer I decided to pretty much give a kit from the ballpoint with the lower points for special cost, because I felt it was a really interesting kit that could work with Squeezer fairly well, and it is Beacon and Inkstorm with 190 points for special. Because of the buff Squeezer has gotten, its painting in its short-range mode actually isn't that bad. It's not great, but as you can see, it actually isn't taking too long to get Stingray. Keep in mind this is 180p. With a bit of charge up, you could actually get a good deal of storms via the short-range mode, though the tap shot mode doesn't have much range. Inkdstorm would be great paired with main power-up on this weapon to help boost its damage problem, as currently it's a little bit low, but with main power-up plus the Inkdstorm, it could be very helpful. Beacons are great to pair with this as a supportive weapon, as along with the basic Inkdstorm, we're giving it abilities to bring its teammates back in. And overall, Beacons would work pretty well with its mid to long range altitude. Overall, I think this would be an interesting supportive Slayer option, with the tap shot modes able to kill very well at long distance, while the kit being able to allow it to get more support when it can't find those kills. I think the first two kits, especially the first one, are pretty lackluster for it, and this would be a kit that serves its role much better. There isn't too much to say, and I feel this would definitely be a high-tier option, if not top-tier, if Squeezer could be pushed. And last but not least is the Dooley Squatchers. While all of these weapons are based off a theme in the end and not just a perfect kit I wanted it, I will admit Dooley Squatcher is the closest one I have to being a little bit of both. Dooley Squatchers, originally the CDS, was going to have armor, as shown off in the 3.0 trailer, and while this was eventually changed, I can't help but feel it should have gotten armor. I'm going to pair with it a slightly weaker bomb than Splat Bomb, because I think Splat Bomb armor would be a little bit ridiculous with it, admittedly, but I'm going to give it Auto Bomb armor 220 points for special. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Okay, the Briella makes sense, it's 220, but this is a weapon that paints even better than Briella, and you're giving it 20 less points for special. This is going to outclass everything. First of all, the paint's not as exemplary as you think, and the ink tank keeps it from shooting too long. It's still going to put out a lot of armors, but keep in mind this thing has nowhere near the amount of combat or 1v1 potential as Briella. On top of that, if you want to have insane damage with it, you need to stack so much main power up so that you can't do charge up. This is going to put Dooley Squatcher in an interesting position, where you can either do the charge up build and reduce your ink saver main count in order to spam more armors for your team, or you can go with less armors but still a solid amount and have the semi-slayer ability. This would overall be another nice mid-range armor support. I think it could work similar to H3, but instead of having the crippling weakness of H3's mobility in this patch, it'd have insane mobility but have a harder time getting kills, unless if you stack main power up. Overall, Dooley Squatcher really needs a better kit to succeed right now. While Splat Bomb and Inkdstorm is great, it's really just outclassed by Ballpoint and Brella, and there's no current reason to really use it over the other two, except on a few maps. I think having this longer range armor option that could pair hypermobility with good paint and a solid kit could work really well with it. It wouldn't get too much armors, but it'd certainly get a lot of armors, and I think it could overall work pretty well as a mid-range weapon. Maybe in maps where Kunder isn't as good, you could run this for support armor, say on maps like Kelp Dome, with the extra range could be much more useful. Anyway, these are all pretty strong kits for their weapons here in this case, because I felt each of these weapons deserved a strong option. Obviously, you could think a little bit of bias with Briella, but let me just say if I wanted to make Briella have a more broken kit, I would have just given it Burst Bomb Ultra Stamp, and that would be the ultimate slayer of gods. Anyway, let me know what you guys think, and I'll give a little bit of a hint for the next one. One of the weapons will be the Tetra Dualies, and we're going to have 3 other weapons that are kind of lacking a good kit, and we're going to be giving it some interesting options. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to that, and I will see you all in another video.